simple. There's, everything we need to live, to be in vibrant health, to be totally alive is simple. Okay. Three foods that we need. One is green leaf vegetables. Green leaf vegetables, that's where our protein is. That's where our minerals are. A cow is 1,000 pounds of protein from grass. A cow is nothing more than transformed grass.
Right.
So the green in the grass has all the elements that are necessary to build a cow.
They don't need to eat steak in order
to become a steak. Exactly, right. And the gorilla, the strongest pound-for-pound mammal on the entire planet, eats about 80% vegetation and 20% fruit. Green. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is fruit.
Okay.
Fruit is like fuel. So the sugar is like fuel. That's the natural sugar we're designed for. And then the third class, another very important food class, is fats, which are, nuts are not a protein-dominant food. They're a fat-dominant food. Avocados. You can get in the Chinatown here, you can get durians, which are excellent for fats. And fats insulate us from the toxicity in the air. They they give us that heavy feeling. Someone goes on live foods and it's like, I'm so hungry all the time. But if you eat fats, you eat nuts, you eat avocados, you can digest.
Yes, and that's what I really liked about your lecture the other night that I heard. It's like when people go to these vegetarian diets, they're craving protein, but you say it's not really the protein or the meat they're craving, it's the fats, it's those oils, and that was a great point.
Yeah, that's a big misconception out there in the diet world is actually what is fat and what is protein. Most dietitians are saying you need protein when what people really need and what they really want is fat. And now the important distinction is that animal fat is one, you're killing the animal, which is there's a karmic price for that, and then number two is that the toxicity that an animal takes in its life is stored in its fat. So if you take in animal fat, you're getting a double or triple dose of pesticides, herbicides, larvicides, toxins in the air, whatever. So isn't that interesting? So the best source of fats then again are raw plant fats. They're the cleanest and most pure.
So the three things, the green leafy vegetables, the fruits, and the fats in the form of oils. And that's the basis for your raw food diet.
Right. Those three classes have to be there. You get those in significant quantities. Even if you're not doing all raw foods or you're just going on this path, we're going to talk about detoxification here, is that those foods, just start including them in your diet as much as possible.
And get away from the grains, the cooked grains. I mean, what does grains do for us, even cooked grains?
Grains, oh wow. Okay, well, cooked grains like bread, for example.
Well, or even rice, because bread I could see, but like rice, just natural grains, millet, rice, you're saying they're even bad. I mean, a lot of vegetarians think they're eating healthy and they're eating all this cooked grain.
Yeah. Complex carbohydrates.
Yeah.
I'm going to just touch on one aspect of that, and that's what it does to our sugar balance. When you take a grain and you cook it, and it becomes a big starchy product like bread or like rice cakes or like popcorn or another kind of starch like rice or whatever. That starch, when it gets in your body, your body breaks it down into sugars, and your liver and pancreas don't even really recognize what it is. So it just shoots like zoom right past the liver and the pancreas into the blood. So it elevates the blood sugar extremely high. Now this is something that has been demonstrated in a lot of books that is just now getting a little bit more publicity, is that the cause of diabetes, hypoglycemia, and blood sugar imbalance is actually cooked starch or cooked grains. Especially in particular like white bread, the grains that have been extremely refined. And I'll give you a quick example. White bread's going to elevate your blood sugar up to 100 in the glycemic index, whereas a mango is going to elevate your blood sugar only to 50, and an orange to 40 or 45.
Wow.
So you see the substantial difference there. And the whole thing is that your body does not recognize that starch sugar. And so it just goes right into the blood.
So it's great that you've actually done the science behind raw food. You're not just saying, oh, this feels great. You've researched this, you've investigated, and you've had the proof.
Because it's very, raw plant food, if you just have that as a basic format for your diet, you're going to be in excellent health. If you go 100% raw plant food, you're going to experience something you've never experienced in your life. It's like an amazing thing, especially over time. It's, everyone wants to know, how do you get in that flow? How do you make sure that everything's happening at the right time? How do you make luck go your way? And it puts you in that flow.
So sprouts are probably the best foods you can eat, right? Because
sprouts with green leaves, because then they're like a green leaf vegetable. So, for example, like sunflower sprouts are phenomenal. It's one of the best foods on the whole planet with little green leaves on it. So if you go to the health food store, that's one you should definitely include.
So let's get into how people can get started, because I know a lot of people have a hard time with sprouts. They can't digest it. They've weakened their digestive system so much that they don't have the fire that will even have them process those sprouts. So how do they start?
Very good question. First step, and this is just, we're going to get into detoxification, but the first step is anytime something cooked is eaten, green leaves should always be included. And the simplest greens for us to break down is actually lettuce. Lettuce is 94% water. It's very simple on the body. The body can just rip that kind of fiber apart, much different from kale, which is very, very fibrous. So I recommend lettuce as a beginner kind of green food. Anytime cooked food is eaten, eat it with lettuce.
Do you eat it before the meal or after the meal?
Either during or after.
Okay.
Either during or after.
So you're not into the mono food where you just eat one food at a time, and that helps revitalize our intestinal fluids by eating just the food. Because if we mix it, some people say mixing food actually confuses the stomach and confuses the mind. Have you heard that?
Yeah, and I definitely think with fruits, now good axiom to remember with fruits is that fruit should be eaten on an empty stomach, which is great. Like in the morning, eat fruits and try to eat one type of fruit at a time, because of the problem that you said, that the body can get confused if you're dumping in there, bananas and avocados and tomatoes and oranges and blueberries all at the same time. The body can get a little bit confused. But what in terms of if you're eating cooked foods again, it's much better to have some type of fiber in there and something that's green, which causes the blood to be more alkaline, because cooked foods are mostly acidic. That's why I recommend always with cooked foods to have green foods there, green leafy foods.
So before we get into diet, just talk about the acid-alkaline balance that we have to maintain in our body and how that works in terms of raw food and cooked foods, or what happened with cooked foods.
Okay, most of the foods that people are eating are acidic. They're acid forming. Meat, bread, corn chips, those types of foods are acid forming.
What does that do to the body?
Now what that actually does is it lowers your blood energy level. If we juiced a big thing of carrot juice, for example, and we left it on a table and let it sit there for a day, what would happen is that the minerals would precipitate out because the energy that's in that fluid would evaporate away, dissipate.
Right.
This is what happens in our blood when our blood goes acid. That carrot juice will also go acid as the energy leaves. So we begin to have minerals appear in the wrong places in our body. So this is like arthritis. Arthritis is an acid condition of the body. To overcome arthritis, you start doing the opposite of the acid-forming diet, which is to bring in lots of green leaves, which are alkaline-forming elements. And green leaves are really the #1 alkaline-forming element in the diet. So if you have meat in the diet or cooked starch in the diet, very important to have green leaves there to create that balance.
And cooked greens are all right. Or, I mean, they're not as good as live greens, but would you still recommend, if you're going to eat greens, to maybe cook them a little bit, or does that ruin it?
No, it would ruin it. Yeah, again, because it deranges the fiber. So it's more difficult for your body to push it through, and it makes your digestive system weak. It's like, your body, again, is like a muscle all the way from here all the way through. And when you have strong fiber in there, those muscles become strong, and you start getting good peristalsis, good digestion. Digestion is a skill. It's an art. It's something that we have to master in our lives. Everybody's eating. Everybody's eating. And if we can get control of what's going on, in this process here, for every disciplined effort, there will be multiple rewards for that.
So we discipline it by eating the right foods, by starting to be kind to it in a way.
Be kind to ourselves. Yeah. To just say, instead of just saying, I'm just going to dump anything in here or get home from a hard day of work, I need a pizza. Maybe if we do have a pizza, we can have a big salad there as well, and then gradually work our way towards a more raw food diet, more raw plant foods in the diet.
So it's being conscious. I mean, it's being aware. We're putting this in our bodies, and this is what's going to happen to our bodies.
Yeah, it's just a message to the viewers.
Right.
Cooked foods, what happens is that you become numb to how food affects you. And as you become more in tune, more conscious, you begin to understand how food affects you and how